Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC 304, Edwards versus Muhammad 2. First things first, make sure you smash that subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast coming off it was a profitable week. Unfortunately, one of the locks lost last week. The other one hit. We had one of the underdogs come through. The over unders were fine, and plays that we weren't super confident on, but played. I ended ultimately came through. Again, it's a bad night whenever a lock loses. Bill Algeo is on the do not bet list now. It is what it is. But we did one of our locks, and Trey Ogden was actually an underdog, so it kind of balanced it out. And then all the extra stuff was just on top of. So it was a profitable night, and that's why it's important to look at the whole card, the whole pod. It is what it is. This week is a card. It's a weird one. One, don't forget that with it being in London, the card's going to start early. Oh, wait, it's not. They're giving it normal pay per view time. So it's going to be at the ass crack of dawn for them. So it's going to be a really, really weird fight time, especially for the main event. And the later the fight goes, the weirder it is. Usually, you have a whole bunch of English people on the UK card, and it's an advantage to be at home overseas. It's kind of a disadvantage because you're accustomed to one time zone and you're in the right time zone, but it's a weird time of everything. So just be cognizant of that. The later the fight card goes, the weirder it gets. But at the end of the day, it's a pretty decent card. I like it. It's a pay per view, so it should be a good card. There are a few fights that fell out, but the UFC did a good job scrambling. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the first fight, considering we have 14 fights as of right now. Obviously, it could always change, but right now we have 14. So let's get started. In the very first fight of the night, we have a replacement here. We have Shauna Bannon at minus 175 going up against Alice Ardeline at plus 150. There is no over under, considering this fight is fairly new. So let's just go ahead and let's start with Shauna Bannon. You know what? No, let's start with Alice Ardeline, because Alice Ardeline is a social media star, uh, then a fighter. Right now, I'll tell you all the stats on Ardeline, and none of them are and they're not pertaining to fighting. She's 32 years old. She's making her UFC debut on short notice. She was originally slated to fight on Dana White's Contender Series. Someone had fallen out. Ravenna, or whatever her name was, had fallen out, and she is stepping in on short notice. And again, she has 3 to 4 million fans or followers over on TikTok. She is a social media mogul. Why? Because she also has an OnlyFans, and the content she puts out on TikTok and OnlyFans, you can only imagine. So that's the main reason she has such a big following. It's nothing but I, basically, she just kind of glamorizes her training. I'll put it that way. And then there's fights on there too. So just ass and fighting is going to get you a whole bunch of views. At the end of the day, her jujitsu is questionable, but her striking's not half bad. When I went back and watched her tape, she looked good. She had pretty decent wrestling. She had pretty decent cardio. Her jujitsu was not half bad. It was okay. She's very, very aggressive. Like, she was just going out there and Hamzat leveling girls, like just going out there where they're just bigger, badder, stronger, and I am going to outmuscle you and make you my bitch, just like Hamzat tries to do. She was doing. She throws with a ton of volume. Like, everything is in combination. There was everything to like about her. She fought good girls such as Wei Li Zhang, the current champion at 115. I was like, what is wrong with this girl? Why is she only 9-5? And then I saw it. She's on a 7 fight winning streak. And let's take a quick peek at these girls' records. We have someone that was 3-0, 3-4, 0-1, 2-0, 0-3. And then obviously there were a few on the show, whatever that is, the Fighter season 2. I'm pretty sure Manon Farrow was on that. But at the end of the day, she was someone that was alternating wins and losses. Look at her win, loss. And to Diana Balbita, and she got finished by Diana Balbita. She was in the UFC, but she wasn't that great. So win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, loss. loss. So she went on a 3-fight losing streak and then decided I'm only fighting scrubs basically. And she's going out there and dominating them easily. But again, her cardio checks out, her striking checks out, her wrestling checks out against these girls. But then she's fighting people like Wei Li Zhang, where she's supposed to get killed. So she's actually somewhere in the middle. You would think, the UFC is letting an OnlyFans star in. They're just doing it for clickbait. She's actually not horrible, to be honest with you. On the other side, usually you have the UFC where they try to promote the honestly just the hotter fighter. On this front, it's actually going to be Shauna Bannon. The one that doesn't do OnlyFans is the hotter fighter that the UFC wants to promote. She's from UK. Sorry, she's from Ireland, so she's a part of the UK, so she'll have the hometown advantage. Be cognizant of that as well with the judging. She trains with Conor McGregor, so obviously they want to push this girl. She's 30 years old. She has a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Her schedule is also questionable, fighting a whole bunch of scrubs. But she does have good cardio that checked out. She has a karate background and a family full of fighters. So she was been doing karate since she was a small girl. And she's a pretty decent striker. She has no power on her shots whatsoever. She couldn't bust a grape, but it looks pretty as she's striking. Her jujitsu's okay. It used to be very bad. She's been working on it diligently. It's getting better. It's still not great, but it's okay. She does not like when you pressure her, though. Like I said, Ardeline is someone that just goes forward and tries to literally murder you. And that's not good for Bannon. Bannon does not like being pressured. She is a karate point style fighter. That's what she wants to do. Very bouncy, very durable. She got cracked a few times in her UFC debut against Bruna Brazil. I don't think Bruna Brazil's that good. We'll talk about her later, but she does at least have a little bit of steam on her punches, and Shannon just ate them. So, or Shauna just ate it. So at the end of the day, both these girls are frauds. But I will say Alice is probably I don't know what version we're gonna get. She's taking it on short notice. The pick is gonna be Shauna, the hometown crowd, the better striker. But you're getting plus money with Alice. Plus 150 might be enough to wet my beak. So that's probably the only way to go this fight. I'm not trusting Shauna Bannon chalk at all. So I guess it turns into a dog or pass. So the pick is gonna be Shauna. I will not bet that. If I bet anything on this fight, it's going to be Alice. And I know the over under is going to be absolutely insane. Alice is a finisher. So if you want to sprinkle her inside the distance, I get it. If you don't, and you just want to take her as a dog plus 150, not a bad line for you. Next fight of the night. It doesn't get much better. Low level heavyweight. We have Mick Parkin at minus 280 going up against Lucas Bresky at plus 225. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 190. Under 2.5 at plus 145. Let's start with Lucas Bresky because I think he might be one of the, he's got to be top three worst heavyweights in the UFC currently. He's 32 years old and he throws with a ton of volume. His striking's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. He doesn't hit that hard, but he throws a ton of volume. That's it. There's nothing else good to say about Lucas Bresky besides the fact that he goes out there and he throws. Otherwise, he doesn't have a. He did get popped from his Dana White Contender Series fight for being on the good stuff, and he looked bad against someone that usually fights at middleweight in the Dana White Contender Series, and he was on the juice. So that was red flag number one. But he seems to get less and less knockouts the more and more he's fighting without the sauce. In fact, he has not had a knockout in the UFC. In fact, he only has one win in the UFC, and it was a very questionable win over Johnny Walker's little brother Victor or Volter. Unanimous decision win for Bresky, but I kind of scored it for Volter, even though he did absolutely nothing with the takedowns he got. But he got a ton of takedowns. He went 4 or 5 on takedown attempts. Why? Because Bresky is rocking a 36% takedown defense. Now, Carl Williams took him down like 11 times. Volter took him down 5 times. So that does mean he's getting up. I'll give him that. But yeah, 36% takedown defense, zero power now. Jiu-jitsu is god awful. And he got knocked out by Waldo Cortez Acosta, who does not have a lot of power. So Bresky might be chinny. To be honest with you, he could probably fight at 205. He's just moonlighting at heavyweight, because he was on the sauce and he was bigger, faster, or he was stronger and faster. Now without the juice, he's just pillow fisted, throws a ton of volume, and the heavyweights just stare at him like it doesn't hurt, and then he just gets taken down. That's just continually what happens to him. He is not good. He is not UFC level. He needs to be cut. On the other side, we have Mick Parkin, who will have the hometown advantage. He trains with the champ and Tom Aspinall. It will be a home match for Mick Parkin, so he will have the entire crowd eating out of his hands. And this is just a setup fight for him. Mick Parkin's not that good. He's 9-0. He has the shiny undefeated record. He trains with the champion, and you do see him getting better. It's just 28 as a heavyweight is fairly young. See that as like 22 in another weight class. So he has okay striking. He on paper is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so he's okay on the ground. I've seen him on the ground. It's not black belt level, but it's okay. He has a few subs on his record. His wrestling's okay. We saw him utilize it in the Kyle Machado fight. We saw him just strike with Jamal Pogues and Muhammad Usman. So he can stand and he can grapple. He can do it all. He's essentially a generalist. He has good volume. His cardio is questionable. He will slow down in his fights. We saw it a ton in the Kyle Machado fight. He flat gassed in that fight. But usually he can go a hard 15. He will slow, but he'll continually go. He'll push through it. His thing is he's a heavyweight with no power. Muhammad Usman, decision. Kyle Machado, decision. Jamal Pogues, decision. So he's running through all this very low level competition. You're seeing this at the start of all these cards. I mean, he fought some of those 1 in 10, 2 in 17, 2 and 3, 7 and 7, 6 and 9. And then he finally ran into some resistance with Eduardo Neves, but he's not a heavyweight, so he was able to just get on top of him and choke him out. And then he got to the UFC and hasn't gotten a finish. So he has not finished anyone with a winning record. That was a true heavyweight. So yeah, he's a little pillow fisted for this division. But overall, he moves forward and he's good everywhere. He's just a generalist. And like Bresky, he throws a good amount of volume for being a heavyweight. So Parkin's the better striker. He might throw just a touch less. He's the better wrestler. He's the better jujitsu practitioner, and we're in his home country. So the pick is going to be Parkin. The bet's going to be Parkin. I almost locked Parkin, but I promised myself if I can avoid it, I'm not locking low level heavyweight or very low level women's MMA. I'm not doing it because I always get screwed. So just with the amount of volume Bresky throws out there, be aware this might even be a split decision for Parkin. But I think he has good enough fight IQ to where if it is that close on the feet, because Bresky won't stop throwing, he'll just take him down, mix it in, and get the decision win. So the pick is going to be Parkin. The bet's going to be Parkin. Next fight of the night. We have the hometown guy in this matchup is Sam Patterson, minus 375, against another hometown guy in Kiefer Crosby at plus 295. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 150. Under 1.5 at minus 195. Let's start with Sam Patterson. He's someone I've been able to read like a book thus far. He's another generalist. He's not good. He's not bad. He's okay. What I will say is he was one of the world's largest lightweights, like Jalen Turner style. Decided that he was going to go up to 170, and I think it suits him much better. Part of the reason I like him better at 170 is because it looks like his brain is able to handle a little more punishment. Because the dude had a little bit of a chin issue at 155. We saw him get knocked out in his UFC debut. We saw him get knocked out in his first ever career loss, and I saw him dropped left and right over in Brave. What I will say is Brave is a good it's a good promotion to be fighting for that's not the UFC. It's one of the best regional scenes. I think CFFC and Brave are probably my favorite, and then LFA sprinkles in thereafter. But Brave is one that I really really believe in, and he did well there, man. The guy's a good fighter. He's gonna have an 8-inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is insane. He throws everything straight down the middle on the feet. He has a little bit of power, not a ton, but it's snappy. He throws a little steam. He can get a KO here and there. Good jujitsu. With him being so tall and lanky, he has a good front series chokes. So a lot of guillotines, anacondas, Darce choke, stuff like that. He's pretty decent at. even sneaking that arm through for the rear naked choke. But you just look at his record. He is rear naked choke in his last fight at 170, which is his 170 debut, and he looked great. He has a guillotine, rear naked choke, guillotine, guillotine, anything where he can wrap his long arms around you. That's how he gets you. I don't like how low he carries his hands, especially as someone that has a history of getting KO'd. That's not a good look. And how high in the air his chin is when he throws. Oban Elliott, who we talk about later, does that too. I'm not a fan of low hands and high chin. You are begging to get KO'd, and he has. So as long as he adjusts that, as long as he's in the right weight class, he is the better fighter. His wrestling's not great. I told you he's a good jujitsu practitioner. It's hard to see because he's not the greatest wrestler. He just finds his way to the ground sometimes. Um, but he did take down Johan, which was promising. It was nice to see. On the other side, he has Kiefer Crosby, who's just a one-dimensional striker. He's 34 years old. He does have good striking. I'll give the devil his due. He is something to be feared on the feet, especially because he has a pretty decent amount of power coming at you. Dude is short, stocky, hits hard, very good striker. But that's it. The problem is he has zero jujitsu whatsoever. In fact, he has four career losses. He also trains at SBG over with McGregor, and that camp has not been looking good at all as of late. But he has four career losses, and most of them are by submission. There was a doctor stoppage. There was an illegal knee where he just got DQ'd. And then both his other losses where there wasn't a doctor or a illegal strike involved, he got choked out. So his jujitsu is not good whatsoever. His wrestling is not good whatsoever. He does pressure forward until he gets tired because his cardio's not good whatsoever. So again, he does hit hard. He is a good striker for as long as it lasts. He has to get a quick knockout or he's toast. And Patterson has good cardio. He has just as good striking, head and shoulders better on the ground. And although Patterson's not a good wrestler, I think Crosby is that bad of a wrestler, so I may be able to take him down. So it's honestly Patterson however he wants, whether it's KO, whether it's submission, or if he just has an 8-inch reach advantage, wants to jab him to death, he could do that too. So the pick is going to be Patterson. The bet's going to be Patterson. Minus 375 is hefty for a chinny fighter. But it's just a matter of if they fight 10 times, I do think he wins like 8 of them. So the pick is going to be Patterson. The bet's going to be Patterson. Next fight of the night is one that probably shouldn't be on the prelims, not especially an early prelim. We have Muhammad Makayev going up against Manal Kopp. Makayev is minus 150 going up against Kopp at plus 125. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 240. Under 2.5 at plus 180. I mean, this is essentially a number one contenders fight. So I don't know why this is on the card so early, how this is not on the pay per view, but it is what it is. Let's just take it. Let's start with Muhammad Makayev. He's going to be the hometown kid in this matchup. I believe there's someone from the UK in every single one of these 14 fights. And it is definitely Makayev in this matchup. He's shockingly has a 2-inch reach advantage here, obviously with the crowd behind him. He's only 23 years old, so he's going to get better and better every time we see him. He has really good wrestling. He has really good jujitsu, but his striking's terrible. His volume is god awful. He throws like 1.9 significant strikes per minute. It has to be the lowest in his weight class. And his cardio has looked great and it's looked bad. So I don't know. We saw him gas out against Alex Perez. But I think part of that is if you can stuff his takedowns, he doesn't get that moment to breathe and catch up. And that's when his cardio seems to get a little questionable. But all in all, it's usually okay. He's a good fighter. He's just 23 and he makes some 23-year-old mistakes. And he's a grappler. He can't strike. He can't. He'll throw some flashy stuff. He'll throw a flying knee at you to get your attention and keep you honest. But no one's scared of his striking. He's pillow fisted. He's got nothing for you on the feet. He wants to take you down and he wants to hold you down. And if you're not prepared for him or if he needs a sub, he will go for it and he often gets it. So It is just sheer wrestling and grappling on the Makayev side, but he is damn good at it. On the other side, we have Manel Kopp, who is interesting. He is 30 years old. We have to see if this fight even takes place because he always gets hurt or misses weight. So he's another one of these. We talked about Alex Perez earlier. Manel Kopp fights get scrapped all the fucking time. So hopefully this fight goes through. He has world class striking. Probably one of the best strikers in the weight class. 77% takedown defense. Now that's a weird number because he did fight good wrestlers like Alexander Pantoja. He fought Zalgas Zumagulov, who can wrestle a little bit. But David Dvorak was the one that took him down, and who else took him down? It was David Dvorak and Mateus Nicolau. Nicolau's not a good wrestler. He should not be taking you down twice. Now the Dvorak one was weird. They were both off of spinning back fists and spinning back elbows, and Dvorak just jumped on his back and then he fell down. So it wasn't really a takedown. He did stuff all the takedowns. So I don't really count those. So Kopp does have good takedown defense. He is really good on the ground. He is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt now. We saw him almost submit David Dvorak with a Kimura off his back. I wish he had a little more urgency to get up, especially because Makayev is going to spam takedowns until he gets it. You need someone that's going to continually get back up, not gas out doing it. And Cap won it. It's a 15-minute fight, and Manel Kopp has good cardio for what it's worth. Carries a ton of power at this weight class. Flyweight, you usually don't get a lot of knockouts, but Manel Kopp does. He knocked out Ode Osborne. He knocked out Zalga Zumagulov. He rocked and almost submitted David Dvorak. He rocked Felipe Dos Santos real bad. So half of his wins are knockouts, and the other two were very, very close to being finished. So the dude hits like an absolute truck. He does a good job cutting off the octagon as you try to circle away from him when he's pressuring forward. I like everything about Kopp. Not his personality. He says some pretty demoralizing things, some pretty insensitive things, but it is what it is. We're here to judge the fighter, not their character. And some people may not know this is a rematch. These two fought before at the UFC PI parking lot. Yeah, yeah. Cop literally came up and started beating the hell out of Makayev in the parking lot. So, yeah, a lot of bad blood going into this one. And Cop is just a head case. Again, he's fighting people that he's literally getting paid to fight Makayev. Why are you fighting him in a parking lot at at a UFC parking lot? It makes no sense. So right now in Cop's eyes, he's 1-0 against Makayev. Makayev's looking to win the rematch. Is he going to do it? I don't know. It's wrestler versus striker. That's what it comes down to. I always favor the grappler over the striker, but Manel Kopp's takedown defense is very good. And Makayev literally has nothing to offer on the feet. He's going to be petrified to strike. He's going to do nothing but shoot. And the judges are doing damage over control. So that makes me lean Kopp. But then it is, and Makayev's undefeated. They love having undefeated fighters, and it's in the UK where Makayev claims, so that makes me lean Makayev. And then I look at the numbers, and it's a 23-year-old that's a favorite, and the 30-year-old who's in the prime of his life and has fought the better level of competition is the dog. So that makes me want to bet Kopp. So I'm going back and forth. I see both ways. At the end of the day, I'm going to do the bitch thing, and I'm going to pick Makayev, but I'm probably not going to have any bets with him. And I will probably sprinkle a Cop plus 125. If this was a straight pick 'em, this is something I'd have to stay away from. But because they've been judging damage over control and Cap is the only one that's going to do damage. Makayev's low volume is just that's what scares me. Even if he does get the takedown, he doesn't even do ground and pound. He just holds you. There's zero damage whatsoever. So the few moments Cop does get stuff off, he hits hard. It's going to be very visually appealing. It may end up being a split, but at the end of the day, it's damage over control, and the damage is plus money. So the pick is Makayev, but I'd have to ultimately bet Manel Cop at plus 125. Next fight of the night. We talked about him a touch earlier. We have Oben Elliott plus 120 going up against Preston Parsons minus 140. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 135. Under 2.5 plus 105. Let's start with Preston, the pressure Parsons. And that name's very appropriate for him. His whole game plan is to pressure you. He has very, very good jiu-jitsu. He has good wrestling to get you down to the ground, and his striking has improved quite a bit. He used to not be able to strike at all, but he said he's been working on it. And to give the devil his due, he looks fine on the feet now. He's not great, he's not world class, but enough to where you have to respect it. His cardio, he can slow down in his fights, but his opponents usually slow down too with all the pressure. He doesn't take a step backwards. He only goes forward. That's all he knows. Now, I've also seen him chin check multiple times, and he's been knocked out. So we saw him chin checked. Sorry, against God, did Evan Elder chin check him? I know Daniel Rodriguez knocked him out. I know he got choked on the regional scene, and then I know Mike Perry knocked him out. I mean, I don't know, man. He's been knocked out multiple times. His chin's a little questionable, but it's not something that I fully fear unless he's fighting a really, really big power puncher. And he himself cracks. He hits decently hard. So he's someone I did not like that has been growing on me. I see the work that he's been putting in, and he's 29 years old. He's entered his prime, and I honestly I can see the work he's doing. I respect the work that Preston Parsons has been doing. He is still a great wrestler. He's still a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he added a little stand-up to his game. He's not generally someone I want to back. However, against Oben Elliott, I think I'm going to have to. Oben Elliott is another generalist here. Sneaky good striking. People don't talk about how good of a striker he is. There's a nice little head kick, decent jab. He's a good striker. He'll have the crowd behind him, being the Welsh fighter or Welsh fighter. So, what is his nickname? The Welsh Gangster. I like his nickname. He's in a whole bunch of fun fights. He's only 26 years old, so he's at that age where he's going to get progressively better each and every fight. So, the version we saw last is not going to be the version we see this time. But the version we saw last time was questionable because he fought Val Woodburn, and Val Woodburn is a one-dimensional striker. And I saw the takedowns that he got on Val Woodburn, and I didn't like the way he set up his shots, and a lot of them were panic shots because he was rocked and wobbled by Val Woodburn. But we see that every fucking fight with Oban. I swear to God, I did his fight tape, and the dude has face planted every single fight. Dude's chinny, and even though he gets wobbled and still wins a lot of these fights, he has two career losses, and they're both by knockout. So the dude has 110% has a chin problem. He has really good jujitsu. He has okay wrestling. Again, pretty decent striking. His cardio, I've seen it look good and I've seen it look bad. He generally takes you down in the third round and tries to recover that way with his cardio, but I think Parsons might be the better wrestler. So that takes you down to the striking. I think striking wise, I might give it to Elliott, but it's very close. And then jujitsu, I think, is a complete wash. But if anywhere leaning, I would lean the Parsons side. Parsons has fought the better level of competition. So at the end of the day, I can't trust that chin. They're both chinny. They're basically the same thing. They're both generalists. They're both chinny. They both slow down in their fights. But where I think they're 50-50 everywhere across the board, Parsons has the pressure, which is visually appealing to the judges. And ultimately, I do feel he's the better wrestler. So if he's the one getting the takedowns, he's the one winning this fight. The pick is going to be Preston Parsons, and you're getting a good line at minus 140. I'm going to end up parlaying Preston Parsons. Next fight of the night, we have Modestas Bukakis at minus 155 going up against Marcin Prokhnio at plus 130, over 2.5 minus 190, under 2.5 plus 145. I'll be honest, this is going to be the worst fight on the card, most likely. So let's fly through this. Let's start with the hometown guy in Modestas Bukakis. He sucks. He's 30 years old. He has a 4-inch reach advantage. His cardio, it's looked good, it's looked bad, but it's mostly okay. I've seen him in 5-round fights before. He can fight the 15 minutes, no problem. He doesn't wrestle whatsoever. He just wants to strike. And as he strikes, he's only counter striking, which counter strikers always have low volume. And by God, that is true for him. He hits decently hard, but it's nothing to be scared of. And he himself is a little chinny. I've seen him rocked in fights. He has 6 career losses. And how many of them are by knockout? Vitor, Khalil was that weird knee one that's technically a knockout. Jimmy Crute was a knockout, and he's a grappler. So we're already at half of his losses. Then he got knocked out by John Redmond, so four. So four out of his six losses are by knockout. So he himself is a little chinny. He just circles and counters. He literally does a circle around the octagon, does not throw at all, and then when you throw like a jab at him, he'll throw an overhand right. That's literally all this man does. It's the most boring fighter in the light heavyweight division. I hate it. I hate Modestas Bukakas fights. But we did cash on him against Tyson Pedro because I knew Tyson would march forward, get tired, and then Bukakis would take over. I knew that was going to happen. I bet Zach Puaga as a dog against him, and I thought Zach won that fight. I think Zach got screwed, and Zach's not good. We bet Vitor Petrino, knowing he was going to kill him. And yeah, that was about that. So, been able to read him thus far. Only got one wrong with him since he's returned to the UFC. And I thought it was a questionable win. So Modestas Bukakis, circle, 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 counter strike at a very low rate. That is all he does. No jujitsu, no wrestling. On the other side, we have Marcin Prachnio, who's not much more exciting. He leg kicks, leg kicks, leg kicks. He's a karate style fighter who will beat the hell out of your leg. That's what he does. He throws a decent amount of volume, unlike Modestas. I'll give him that. His striking's good. I mean, it's a karate style. That's what he's known for. He is 36 years old, and he himself is even chinnier than Modestas. He has a terrible chin. If you crack his chin, he goes out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. His jiu-jitsu is bad. His wrestling's bad. I've seen him mix it in a few times, but it's not good. He has no power whatsoever. And he slows down and gasses in his fights, and that's concerning. That's not good. So what we're looking at are two strikers going at it. Neither one have power, but both have bad chins. So that's a weird narrative. But I do think this hits the over, mainly because Prachnio has even less power than Bukakis, and Bukakis doesn't fucking throw. So we're going to see Bukakis circle. We're going to see Prachnio throw leg kicks, and then we're going to see Bukakis try to counter with the overhand right whenever Prachnio decides to throw anything at him that is not a leg kick. It's going to be very boring, but I think more volume is going to come from Prachnio, and Prachnio is the plus 130 dog. The only way this fight is at all appealing is if you win money on it. So let's take the plus money. The pick is going to be Marcin Prachnio. The bet's going to be Marcin Prachnio because you have two strikers. One of them throws. It's always his leg kicks, but he throws. The other one does not. Next fight of the night, we can see some volume in this one. We have, oh, I can never say his name right. Kalen Lochran at minus 200, going up against short notice Jake Hadley at plus 165. Over 2.5 is minus 260. Under 2.5 at plus 195. Let's start with Kalen Lochran. He's someone that grew on me, man. He's not a bad fighter at all. He is Irish, so you would think he has the hometown advantage, but he's fighting a Englishman on short notice, so the crowd's going to be split, but probably mostly favor Jake. But Lachlan doesn't care. His UFC debut was in enemy territory in France against Taylor Lapilus, the GOAT. I love Taylor Lapilus. He's 28 years old, so he's entering that prime, getting better and better. He has good striking. He'll throw a ton of volume. He hits decently hard. He will take a shot to give a shot. I'll give him that. He's very durable. He is a blockhead. Like, I don't think this guy will ever get knocked out. He is like he's kind of like when it comes to not their fight style, but when it comes to like their head for the weight class, he's the bantamweight Marvin Vittori. Like, it's going to take a lot to knock this guy out. His head was built for punishment, and he's just a short, stocky guy. He has a wrestling build. And he can wrestle. He will mix in like 1 to 2 takedowns in all of his fights. Like, he can wrestle, but he likes to strike. That's what he loves to do. He hits decently hard. He thinks it's more fun to knock you out. And he has a good little jiu-jitsu game to follow up his wrestling if he does want to go that route or mix it up. He's very, very cocky, and he's very, very annoying, but he's a good fighter. He has good cardio. With throwing all that power, mixing in the wrestling, he doesn't get tired. He keeps going and keeps going. Um, I've seen him have low volume at times when he just wants to counter and take your head off. But other times, like his last fight, he landed like 160 significant strikes or something crazy like that. So he's had good volume, he's had bad volume, but all in all, he can do it all. He's a decently good fighter. On the other side, Jake Hadley is just as cocky and also from the area. So I don't know what the crowd's gonna do. Um, but the cockiness of Lochran isn't going to bother me because Jake Hadley's just as cocky. He's 27 years old. He's going to have a 2 inch reach advantage, which I find interesting because this fight is at bantamweight. He's taking this fight on short notice up a weight class. Jake Hadley is someone that predominantly fights at flyweight at 125, and he's making the move up to 135. I know he's a huge 125 pounder, so I don't know if this is a permanent move, but he is on a 0-2 skid, so he needs a win badly. He has good striking. He has really good jujitsu. I will give him the jujitsu edge, but his wrestling is trash. It's very, very, very bad. I think it's like 40% takedown defense too. Like it's bad. He's very hittable on the feet, and that's mainly because he gets tired. He doesn't gas out by any means, but round one, Jake Hadley, and round three, Jake Hadley look completely different. He slows down a ton. So although I think the striking is pretty close, it's pretty much a wash. Round three, it's definitely going to be Lachlan. Jiu-jitsu is definitely Hadley, but the wrestling is definitely Lachlan. So if Hadley can't take him down, it's not going to matter how good he is on the ground. I think Lachlan's BJJ is good enough not to get caught on the ground. And again, if he wants to just keep this on the feet and scrap, he can. He definitely can because I think he wins that. I think the first round's going to be very, very close. But the second round, he'll start to pull away, and then the third round, he should kill him. Especially Jake Hadley, who gasses, is going to be on short notice. So I'm all in on Lachlan. I think he could win multiple ways. The pick is going to be Kalen Lachlan. The bet is going to be Lachlan. That takes us to the next fight, and another one where I'm fairly confident in. We have Meatball Molly McCann is in the UK, and you know what that means? A setup fight. We have Bruno Brazil plus 285, and Meatball is minus 360 favorite. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 130. Under 2.5 plus 100. Let's start with Meatball Molly McCann. I love Meatball because I've been able to read her like a book. Some fighters I cannot get right to save my life, and other ones I just simply can't miss. We bet her by sub against Diana Balbita earlier this year, easy money. We bet Stolyarenko to win by a submission, easy money. We bet Aaron Blanchfield to kill her, easy money. We bet her to beat Hannah Goldie, easy money. We bet her to beat Luana Carolina, easy money. We bet her to beat Ji Young Kim, easy money. We bet her to lose to Laura. Her name's not Fritz, and that's her married name. I forgot what her maiden name was, but that was easy money, and she was really good. They need to bring her back. And then we bet her to lose to Tyler Santos. That was easy money. That's where I started the betting with Meatball. Have not gotten one Meatball fight wrong. And the common things here: Tyler Santos was in America, Laura was in America. Ji Young Kim, I don't remember. I think that was America, but Ji Young Kim is not very good. Luana Carolina was in London. Hannah Goldie was in London. Aaron Blanchfield was America. Julia Starienko was actually London. But then Diana Belbito was America, but you can kind of read what's going on here. Whenever she's in her home country, they usually set her up. They tried to set her up with Julia Stolyarenko, but Stolyarenko has one move, a submission. It's an armbar, and she was much bigger than Meatball Molly. Meatball Molly dropped the weight class after this, and she looked phenomenal down at 115. She was always short and kind of strong. When she went down to 115, she was still shorter than Diana Belbita, but Jesus, she was an absolute tank. She was picking her up and literally throwing her across the octagon. Meatball Molly's wrestling sneaky good. Her jujitsu is not sneaky; it's very good out of nowhere. I don't know if she's a brown belt or a black belt, but she has been working diligently on her ground game, and it looks pretty good. Her striking is her bread and butter. She's a very good striker, has sneaky power, a ton of knockouts on her record, has good cardio to go a hard 15-minute with a ton of volume. Meatball Molly's good everywhere. Her takedown defense is not good. That's where she struggles. 45% takedown defense. But again, she was fighting people at 125, much, much, much larger than her. She looks so much better at 115. She's 34 years old. I wish she made this move a long time ago because she could have been something, but she's here now, and her takedown defense is going to be much better at 115. Good news for her is that she's fighting Bruno Brazil, who's not a great wrestler. Bruno Brazil's a striker. She has a 3.5 inch reach advantage, but she's very low volume. She will stop and take pictures. She does not throw a ton. Her power's okay. She has a few knockouts, especially for the weight class, more than usual, but she herself has 53% takedown defense. So if Meatball Molly wanted to take her down, she could. If she wanted to submit her, Bruna Brazil does not have good jujitsu. She could. If she wanted to just out volume her and then finish her or just put on a clinic, she could because Brazil does not have good cardio. So I don't know why she slows down, hardly throwing anything. We talked about Shauna Bannon not being that great. This is the girl that Shauna Bannon fought, and Bruna barely won. She lost round three clearly. She won round one and two, but round one was fairly close. So I don't know. That was too close for comfort. Brazil's not that good. She was just beating up on really bad competition. She's been 1-2 in the UFC thus far. And she just fought someone, Molly Meatball Stature and Luma Lukume, and lost. So she just fought a good short stocky striker. But unlike Luma, like Meatball will take her down. Meatball will try to utilize that ground game. So she has more stuff to worry about. And I think Luma might be the better fighter technically, but Meatball hits a lot harder, and Bruna has a bad chin. She gets chin checked all the time. She got knocked out by Denise Gomes. She got chin checked against Luma. She got knocked out twice on the regional scene. Like Bruna Brazil has a chin problem. So Meatball is the better grappler, the better wrestler, the better striker, and has more power and the better chin. It's a setup fight in her hometown. The pick is going to be Meatball. The bet's going to be Meatball by ease. Next fight of the night, we have Nathaniel Wood at minus 425 going up against Daniel Pineda at plus 330. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 166. Under 1.5 at plus 130. Let's start with Nathaniel, the prospect Wood. I don't know if he's still a prospect considering he's 30 years old. He has good striking. He has good jiu-jitsu. He has okay wrestling. They're all just trips. But he's a generalist. He has good cardio. He throws with a ton of volume. The thing with him is that he is a former 135 pounder. He's in the wrong weight class. He's not a featherweight. He is a bantamweight. He said the bantamweight weight cut was too much for him. It was too hard. He needed to go up a weight class. He needs to figure it out. Because, like Christian Rodriguez, we just saw C Rod, he could be the best fighter in the world. But if you're in the wrong weight class, you're going to have some problems. And Nathaniel Wood, you're in the wrong weight class. Your last fight against Muhammad Naimov, you're better than Muhammad Naimov. You almost won that fight, to be honest with you. But if you guys were the same size, you would have killed him. He's in the wrong weight class. And he's also chinny. He was chinny at 135. He's just as chinny at 145. Andre Fili is not a power puncher. He dropped him. Muhammad Naimov's not really that big of a power puncher. He dropped him. Charles Jourdain, not a power puncher. He dropped him. Casey Kenny didn't. It was just a decision now that I remember. John Dodson is a 125 pounder. He knocked you out. So like we've seen you knocked out before, and we've seen you drop multiple times in wins. So yeah, he has a little bit of a chin problem in the wrong weight class. On the other side, we have Daniel Pineda. I love Daniel Pineda. I might be the only Daniel Pineda fan because this dude's fun. And you can just one word describes Daniel Pineda: violence. The dude has 20. This you would think I'm lying. The dude has 28 professional MMA wins. The dude has 28 professional MMA finishes. The dude has never won a decision. All 28 wins by finish, 19 of them by submission. The dude is a whiz on the ground, and if you want to stand with him, he will hurt you on the feet. He hits hard. Now, part of that is because the dude popped for the sauce. Dude has a little bit of a steroid issue. I'm pretty sure he got caught more than one time. He's 38 years old. He's not a young chicken. He slows down in all of his fights. He has god awful cardio. Yeah, 48% takedown defense. Part of that's by design because he likes the ground game so much. He doesn't throw a ton of volume. He will gas out if he throws too much, so he has to be cognizant of that. He's very hittable when he's on the feet, but God, 28 finishes. The dude hits like a truck when he does swing. And again, Wood, bad chin. Wood's also been submitted. Pineda, 19 submission wins and pretty decent wrestling offense. Defense, not so much. Again, 48%. But offensively, he just goes out there and tries to bully you. He goes forward and just tries to outmuscle everyone. That has worked 28 times. It has failed 15 times. You know who he can probably bully? 135-pounder. Nathaniel Wood. This is terrible. This is a terrible matchup. Nathaniel Wood is the better fighter. And if Nathaniel Wood survives, he's going to kill Daniel Pineda. I am petrified Daniel Pineda puts him out round one. It could be submission, it could be knockout. What I truly see is Pineda going down and literally just grabbing a body lock and throwing little ass Nathaniel Wood to the ground and then getting a submission. That would not shock me in the slightest. But if he tries to bully him and he doesn't get him out of there, he's going to gas badly. And Wood's probably going to finish him because Wood is long overdue for a finish. And Wood goes to the body a lot. So I don't know. This is violence personified. Again, the over under sitting at 1.5 because it's a Daniel Pineda fight. But it's plus money at plus 130. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna pick Nathaniel Wood. He is the better fighter, but I'm gonna bet the under 2.5. I'm gonna take that alternative line. I think you lose the plus money, but barely. You're gonna get a really, really, really good line on the under 2.5. I don't see this thing going the distance. So the pick is gonna be Nathaniel Wood. The bet's going to be the alt line under 2.5. Play it safe. Next fight of the night. Peak is we're gonna take Arnold Allen at minus 240 going up against Giga Chikadze at plus 195. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 245. Under 2.5 at plus 185. Let's start with Arnold Allen. He's gonna be the hometown guy in this matchup. He's good. He's someone that I thought was overrated for the longest time, but he's actually impressed me more in his two losses than he has in any of his wins. He has good striking. He has sneaky good jujitsu. It's not bad. And his wrestling's not good. I'll give him that. It's not really great. But he does hit decently hard. He carries some pretty heavy pop in his hands. Um, yeah, man, he's gonna have the crowd behind him, being the Englishman. Dude's a good fighter. Not really anything to write home about. He's getting step ups in competition. That's going to be an issue for him. They gave him Masvar Evluev and he got out wrestled. They gave him Max Holloway. He got out striked. He can do everything well. He can do everything very well, but he has his limitations. I don't think that he will ever be a top 5 guy in the weight class. But he will be top 10. He'll just hover around that like 6, 7, 8 marker as the best featherweights. And that's his bread and butter. That's where he's going to be. If you're not good enough to be top 10, he's going to beat you. If you are in the top 5, you're going to beat him. And then he's in that little gray area where like 6 through 9 or 8, it's a coin toss. Giga Chikadze on the other side, he's like a top 10 fighter in the weight class, mainly because of his striking. The dude's a very, very, very good striker. Jiu-jitsu's terrible. His wrestling, 69% takedown defense, and he will not offensively wrestle. His cardio, he slows down in his fights. What's there to like about Giga? He hits decently hard. He's been kickboxing for like 30 years. He is 35 years old and he's a glory kickboxer. So the Israel Adesanyas, the Alex Pereiras, that little kickboxing league that they were in, Giga was in it and he was dominating and he's a very, very good striker. Now, here's the thing. Allen's not a good wrestler. He's okay grappling. He's a good striker and he predominantly wants to strike. Giga, only a striker. If this is a stand-up fight, Giga's alive. He even has a 4-inch reach advantage, so he can use distance if he wants. He's known for having his own kick called the Giga kick, which is just like a liver kick that shuts off everything. You can do that at range. He has a 4-inch reach advantage. It's perfectly setting up for the Giga kick. Is Allen going to just stand with him? I don't know. I think that's the hardest route. I think Giga is extremely live if he wants to. If Allen just wants to kickbox the kickboxer, I don't think that's a good idea. But are we trusting a non-wrestler to go out there and wrestle for the win? I don't know. It worked with Calvin Cater. Calvin Cater took him down round 1 and 2 and drained the gas tank, and then proceeded to beat the hell out of Giga. That's why he started winning on the feet, because Giga was death gassed. This is only a 3 round fight. And is Allen going to be able to take him down the way Calvin Cater did? I don't know. He got taken down and submitted by Austin Springer. Like, if this hits the ground, Allen's better, and Allen could probably submit him. I just don't know how he gets it there. 70% takedown defense isn't good, but it's not the worst. And Allen's not the best wrestler. So I'm scared this is going to be a stand up fight. And if that's a stand up fight, that's Giga. So at the end of the day, MMA fighters seem to beat the one dimensional kickboxers, one dimensional wrestlers. MMA overall fighters generally win. So I'll pick Arnold Allen, especially in his hometown. But as a bet, the line is asinine. Plus 195 for the better striker, which is probably going to be a striking match. Yeah, I'm definitely going to bet that. So the pick is Arnold Allen, but I will have money on Giga Chikadze. Next fight of the night is another grappler versus striker ordeal. We have CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan at -140, going up against Gregory Robocop Rodriguez at +120. Over under set at 1.5, over 1.5 -135, under 1.5 at +105. We can start with CLD. He's going to be the hometown guy in this matchup. He's 28 years old. He'll have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's 10-1, his one loss being the Armin Petrosian in the UFC. He has good striking. He has really good cardio for 185. Like, the dude can go for days. Um, he has pretty decent power on him, and he's creative on the feet, man. He has really, really, really good striking. And it's just flying knees and crazy axe kicks and spinning shit. Like, he's creative. You never know what you're gonna get hit with, and when he does hit you, the dude fucking cracks. He hits very, very hard. His wrestling is what I saw in the regional scene as an issue. He was perpetually getting taken down, but he did have a really good get up game, and he always got back up. It's improved. I've seen it each and every one of his fights. It's getting better and better and better. His wrestling, his takedown defense, still not where it needs to be, but he's working on it. It's getting better. He's a former basketball player. He has no wrestling pedigree whatsoever. But again, he does have a good get up game. I like that. He has a ton of power. I like that. He has a ton of volume. I like that. His jiu-jitsu is not great. It's okay. It's not bad. It's serviceable. But it's going to have to definitely be worked on going against Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory Rodriguez is a world class jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'm pretty sure he won the ADCC a few times. Dude's whiz. He is a jiu-jitsu whiz. One of the best in the weight class at jiu-jitsu. But he doesn't fucking use it. He has good striking. He carries a ton of power. He got a ton of knockouts and fell in love with it. He's one of these wrestlers, one of these jiu-jitsu guys who their first knockout, got a taste for blood, and went, "Oh, this is fun. This is exciting. This is less effort. I'm just going to do this. I'm now a striker." To his credit, he is a good striker. He is still knocking people out. But my concern with that is that he's chinny. He's very, very, very chinny. He got knocked out by Jordan Williams, who is a diabetic welterweight. He got knocked out by Bruno Ferreira, who's also a welterweight. So maybe he just has a problem with 170 pounders. But yeah, the dude gets chinned all the fucking time. He got knocked out against Bruno Lopez in his first career loss. So yeah, he has what? So that's 3 knockouts, and he has 5 career losses. He's been knocked out in more than half. Dude's chinny. He can throw back at you a ton of power, but his cardio, he does tend to slow down in his fights. Pretty sure he's taking this fight on short notice, so that's also not good. Um, I don't know, man. He's pretty traditional, and then you hit him once, and he just spazzes the fuck out and just marches forward and tries to kill you. He needs to just wrestle. He randomly wrestled against Dennis Talulian, which was nice to see, and he got the submissions, or sorry, he got the elbows from Backman, but he got the takedown. The dude's a good wrestler. I've seen him wrestle. He wrestled Jung Young Park. He wrestled Dennis Talulian. Like, he can go out there and get a takedown. He just chooses not to. He wants to scrap. He has fun striking. We're not here for fun. We're here to make money. So at the end of the day, I can't trust that. But if it does hit the ground, because CLD does not have good takedown defense, if Gregory is smart, he takes him down. He can sub CLD. On the feet, he can definitely knock out CLD, but he's more liable to get knocked out. So will Gregory play this smart, or is he going to try to have fun? I don't know. I don't trust RoboCop, so I'm going to pick CLD, but I will admit the underdog in this matchup has more ways to win. So what I'm gonna probably take is the under. Under 1.5 is plus money at plus 105. I'd probably play it safe and do the 2.5 and eat it, eat the chalk and just parlay it up. But if you want to take the under 1.5, I get that too. I'm not picking a side. Gregory could knock him out or submit him. CLD is very likely to knock him out. So both of those are fight's not going the distance. So I'll just take that under. So the pick is going to be CLD. The bet's going to be the under, and I don't care who gets the finish. Then we get into the big fights. We got sorry, not Bobby Green. We have the newly minted King Green, minus 125, going up against Patty Pimblett at plus 105. I didn't have the over under for whatever reason. Over 2.5 minus 190, under 2.5 at plus 145. Let's start with King Green. King Green is a really good striker. He has really good jujitsu. He has sneaky good jujitsu. He has really good cardio. 74% takedown defense, and has fought the who's who of the division. A lot of things to like about Bobby Green or King Green. Things to not like about King Green. 37 years old. Three of his last fights or his last three losses are all by KO. He was known for his durability. He is now getting chinned. Why? Because he's 37 years old and he's pillow fisted. It's very difficult for him to get a finish. He couldn't even finish old man Jim Miller, and he got cracked by Jim Miller and dropped. So that was not a good look there. And he has 74% takedown defense, but he's not really fighting wrestlers. Clay Guida's a wrestler. He took him down 4 times. Islam's a wrestler. Clearly, he took him down once. That's all he needed. So this 74% takedown defense, Londo Venata took him down 4 times. It might be a little skewed contingent on who he's fighting. It might not be that good. We don't know. We will see. We might find out in this matchup because Patty Pimblett is a grappler. Everyone sees Patty Pimblett getting all these knockouts and all of this stuff. The dude hits hard. His striking has improved, but he is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He can't wrestle that well. It's okay. He has a decent single leg on him. All the takedowns I've seen him get were single legs. And ironically enough, Bobby Green, especially the Clay Guida fight, all 4 of Clay Guida's takedowns were single legs. So that's promising. But Pimblett's not that good of a wrestler, but he is the much better jiu-jitsu practitioner. On the feet, Bobby Green will dance circles around Patty Pimblett. But King Green's chin is fading at 37 years old. Pimblett's not good, but he hits hard. It only takes one to catch him. He will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Neither one of them keep their fucking hands up. Both of them low. Bobby or King Green, by design, he always keeps them low on purpose, and that helps his takedown defense. Very hard to hit. Pimblett just gets excited and forgets to keep his hands up. But the crowd is going to be behind Patty like no other. England eats out the palm of this guy's hands. It's insane. And Patty has pretty good cardio himself. So I'll say the cardio is a wash for a 15-minute fight. I will say King is the much better striker, but Patty has the power. Jiu-jitsu, very clearly Pimblett, and the wrestling is where this fight is going to be won. If Patty doesn't crack King, he's going to have to take him down. Can he? I don't know. It's 50-50. I have no fucking clue. But at the end of the day, Bobby Green is pillow fist, and Patty's never been knocked out, and he is not going to submit Patty. So that brings it down to Bobby Green by decision is his only win equity. Patty can knock him out, he could submit him, or he could win a decision because they're in London, baby. They're in England. There might be some hometown cooking on the judge's scorecard. We saw this before with Patty against Jared Gordon. And the nail on the head, or the nail in the coffin, is that King Green has a million split decisions on his record, and they're all losses. The judges don't like all the cockiness of King Green, and he continually shows bad fight IQ, taking down Tiago Moises. Like, he does stupid, stupid things, and he gets really just railed on the judges' scorecards. So he could get screwed. So you have a Patty screw job, a Patty finish, and you have a Green just decision. That's the only merit. And Patty's the underdog. So more win equity, I'm going to take the underdog. So the pick is going to be Patty. The bet's going to be Patty. And you better bet Patty to Batty now because that line is moving. He's probably going to be a favorite when this thing kicks off. And then that takes us to the first title fight. It says interim. It's not. It's the real heavyweight title. We have Tom Aspinall minus 355 going against Curtis Blades at plus 280. Over 1.5 minus 190. Under 1.5 at plus 145. Another rematch. Let's start with Tommy Aspinall. He will be the hometown favorite. 31 years old. Really good striking. Good power. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. Good wrestling. Freakishly fast, probably the fastest heavyweight in the weight class. We'll have the crowd eating out of the palms of his hands as well. What is there not to like about Tommy? Virtually nothing, but we have no idea about his cardio. The dude has 3 career losses. One of them was the fluke leg injury against Curtis Blades 15 seconds into the fight. That doesn't really count. That's nothing. His other career loss, he threw an illegal elbow, 12-6 elbow. He got disqualified. Not really a loss. The other loss, he got submitted at the end of round 2. Did he just get caught or was he tired? I don't know. Because we saw him in the Andrei Arlovsky fight absolutely gassed in round 2. But to his defense, he went for the finish in round 1, almost hit Andre out of there, and blew his entire load. So was he just tired because he went for the finish, or was he tired because he doesn't have cardio? I don't know. We have no idea. He's never won a fight that went out of the second round. Out of the first minute and a half, we've never seen him win a fight. I don't know how his cardio is. We have to assume that it's bad contingent on what we're seeing here, him making it to the end of the second round and losing both of those. But did he just get caught, or was it the cardio? Did he throw the illegal elbow because he was so tired, or why does he just have a lapse of judgment? I don't know. I truly don't know. But we've also I don't know if there's any knock on Tom Aspinall. It's his cardio. On the other side, Curtis Blades, some of the best cardio in the heavyweight division. So that's red flag number 1. Really good cardio, good striking. He's really worked on his striking, and it's very, very good. 3-inch reach advantage, which is super nice. He has his bread and butter is his wrestling. He's the best wrestler in the weight class, and he throws with pretty good power himself. His jiu-jitsu looked questionable, and his takedown defense. The Cody East fight really scared me because Cody East took him down multiple times. I know that was his UFC debut, but he hasn't really fought anyone that's going to wrestle him since. Besides Jailton Almeida, Jailton Almeida took him down. Now, it says it took him down 9 times. That's not true. He took him down once and got 8 mat returns. They should not have counted that as 9 takedowns. That's fucked up. He got taken down once. Cody East took him down 2 times. I will give him that. And no one else wrestled. Literally no one else. He's never fought a wrestler since. So is his Justin Willis actually would wrestle a little, but Curtis was clearly the better wrestler. So we don't know. That's going to be interesting. The wrestling might be a wash in this matchup. He might be the better wrestler. We don't know. And we've never seen Tom Aspinall off his back. He has 100% takedown defense. We don't know what he does down there. We know he's a black belt, but we don't know what happens down there. Thing with Blades is he has 4 career losses, and all 4 are by knockout. Now, is he chinny, or is he just fighting the heaviest hitters ever? We saw Sergey knock him out. So let's start at the beginning. We saw Francis Ngannou give him his first career loss by knockout. Francis, it was the hardest puncher in the UFC history at that point. They rematched later on, and we saw Francis knock him out. Still the hardest hitter in the UFC. Francis left, goes to PFL and boxing or whatever he does. A new hardest hitter in the weight class, Derek Lewis, is the hardest hitter. What does he do? He knocks out Curtis Blades. Then we have the surging Sergey Pavlovich, the boogeyman who everyone is scared of. Curtis raises his hand, says, "I'll fight him." And they all say, Sergey's now the hardest puncher in the weight class. Guess what happens? He gets knocked out. So is he chinny or did he fight the literal three hardest punchers in the weight class and just happened to get caught? I don't know. The only other person with the death touch is Jairzinho Rosenstruck, and he cracked him and wobbled blades badly, but he survived. So I don't know if he's chinny or if these are just the hardest hitters ever. I have no clue. Is Tom Aspinall have a gas problem, or is it just unfortunate things that happen later on in the fight? I have no clue. Questions need to be answered. I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall. He has more ways to win. I think he can knock out Curtis Blades. I think he hits hard enough. I think he could take down Curtis Blades and submit him. I think he's the much better jiu-jitsu guy. Or if he actually does have cardio, he could take down Curtis and try to lay in prey. On the other side, Curtis could finish Tom Aspinall. Anyone can get knocked out. I don't think he subs him, but he can get on top and ground and pound him. He can take him down and just decision him because he has 5 round cardio to do so. So they both have win equity. The problem is Aspinall's minus 355 and Curtis Blades is plus 280. I want to bet Tom Aspinall. I'm picking Tom Aspinall. The bet they're forcing me into Curtis Blades plus 280. This fight should be a pick 'em. If anything, it should be Aspinall like minus 150. Minus 355 is insane. Blades is so live, and they're gonna make me click the button. So the pick is Aspinall. The bet's gonna be Blades. And it's not going to get much better for the English fandom here with Leon Edwards minus 250 going against Bilal Muhammad plus 205, over 4.5 minus 230, under 4.5 plus 175. How do you beat Leon Edwards? You lay and pray. What is Bilal Muhammad's best path of victory as of late? The lay and pray. Muhammad is 36 years old. He has good striking. He used to always just predominantly strike and sprinkle in a takedown, but he has good wrestling and he's been using it as of late. He laid and prayed against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He realized I was successful, so then he laid and prayed against Vicente Luque. He knocked out Sean Brady. I have no words to say there. And then him and Gilbert were both extremely hurt and fought for whatever reason because Dana made them save the card. But they were both very, very compromised, and you can tell. At the end of the day, he has okay jujitsu. He has good wrestling. He has good striking. He's a little pillow fisted, but Sean Brady would say otherwise. He has great cardio. That's the best part of his game. But he is a wet blanket on top as of late. Why? Because he's been training with the Dagestanis and Habib. He has been under tutelage of Coach Habib for the last few years, and it shows. Ever since he's been wrestling, he's been with Habib, and he's not just taking people down, he's holding them down. He has a wet blanket on top. He had 5 takedowns against Vicente Luque. Why? Because he had one each round. One each round. That's all it took. Because Vicente never got back up. That's what it is. Dude's good on the ground. Very, very, very wrestle heavy approach as of late. People will say he's chinny because he's been knocked out. That's true. I've seen him wobbled a few times. I would say if there's a negative to Bilal Muhammad, he has good volume. He has great fight IQ. It's his chin. That's his problem. He is liable to get knocked out. It's happened before. It's probably going to happen again. He's 36 years old. His chin's not getting any better. But the good news for Muhammad is that he's not really fighting a power puncher. I know Leon Edwards won the title off of a knockout, but it was a little fluky. He doesn't generally knock anyone out. He's a decisionator. Edwards is the better striker of the two. This is a rematch itself, and Edwards was clearly winning the first fight. Edwards has a 2-inch reach advantage. He's 32 years old, so he's in his prime. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He's the Englishman in this matchup. Great striking, 70% takedown defense. Very low volume, though. That's the thing. 2.75 significant strike per minute is not a good number at all. And he does have a very good get up game. I'll give him that. And he has good cardio himself. Jiu-jitsu's a wash. It's okay as well. But we're going to look at basically wrestler versus striker again in this matchup. I took a striker in one of them. I don't think I can here because the odds, man. I know Leon Edwards is winning the first time. I know that they're in his hometown. But that was prior to Team Habib. Bilal with Team Habib is so much different, and I don't think he cares. He knows no one wants to give him a title shot. Now that he finally got his title shot, do you really think he's going to fuck around and just strike with Leon Edwards? No, he's going to wrestle his ass off. And Leon Edwards has 70% takedown defense. That's a pretty solid number. But Malal is training with Team Habib. He's gonna be like a dog on a bone. He's gonna be persistent. He's not gonna stop, and he's going to continually go for the takedown. And as of late, he throws in that Dagestani handcuff, or he wraps up your legs with his legs, and you're not going anywhere. Ask Vicente Luque. It takes one. He keeps you down. And Kamaru Usman, let's not act like Kamaru Usman wasn't winning that fight before headshot dead. Kamaru was up 4 rounds. He was up 3 rounds. Why? Because he took him down and dominated on the ground. Exactly what Bilal wants to do. Kamaru's a better wrestler than Bilal. But Bilal might be a better striker, in all honesty. He can keep him honest. He throws more volume than Leon on the feet. And if he gets him down, he's going to want to just hold him for dear life because it's a title fight. And he gets paid. And he's going to get the credit and the glory of being champion. He will have a boring fight if you wrap a title around him. I think this could potentially be one of the worst fights on the card. It's going to go down as one of the worst main events if Muhammad wins, but I don't think he gives a fuck. He's 36 years old and he wants to be champion. The pick is going to be Bilal Muhammad. The bet is going to be remember the name Muhammad. At those odds, plus 205, gotta take it. And that's UFC 304, Edwards versus Muhammad. It's a weird one. There's a lot of just value where you have to take it. They're goading me in. I know there's going to be a fight like Diane Barbosa last week. I thought the line was way off. I had to bet her. I feel like it might be the Giga fight here where it's a trap. But one of these are going to come through. And it only takes one with some of these lines. So very dog heavy card, very fun card. And it's going to be even better when we win all the money. Let's get after it.